In it for a penny, in it for a pound. No country sounds, even though there's no track playing. That would be seriously false. Prison mic here. Um, you. I'm sorry. I have. This is the last tournament before the 7:30 ones. I'm playing like I don't want to. Like I'm sorry. I don't have the. Um, what do you call it? The webcam on, but seriously, I'll flash it. I'll flash it. Um, you know, that I haven't. I got up. I started playing. I haven't really even changed clothes or showered, which is pretty shameless. But yeah, gross. No, I mean there's a point, at which you need to be presentable enough. Even though I don't care about all that. Um, um, but we all have inconsistencies. It's just hardwired. So I don't care about it, but still, it should be presentable for other people, right? I'm presenting something, so if I don't care, but why do I have this layout overlay and all that stuff? Shit's got to be presentable. Anyways, I've gotten a lot of messages on Facebook, PMs and DMs on just sliding them on Twitter and stuff. I don't think I played that well. Uh, um, I didn't know there was so many people following. Now I feel shameless for some of the spots that I took. Nah, we played pretty well. But I was just being asked a lot about stuff about like why did I do this? Why did I do that? It's basic. Was that exploitative? Was that GTO? No, everything was just respecting the deck, and just realizing that you will make a few mistakes here or there, but essentially it's pretty sophisticated, but it's pretty simple. You have to stick to like optimal play. Now that does mean like just in a sense it just means if the deck cooperates with you, you continue. If it doesn't, you fold. If you're bluffing, for instance, and like that goes for any kind of scenario in poker, any kind of action you're taking, the deck constraints all strategies. Everyone has like a finite number of strategies, and the lower we or the shorter we get, those strategies need to be more optimal. And even anyone with like any sort of uh, you know there's still finite number of strategies, but they're now a lot less, right? So if someone's like an extreme example would be if someone's strategy, for instance, is opening 10x, right? And they are this villain. I'm just making an example. Now that strategy is impossible. He doesn't have 10 chips, 10 big blinds, sorry, to open. Uh, you know, so like if this guy's raise sizing is say 3x all the time, and you know, late in the game, I mean, like, again, like, I think that example was enough. Like, strategies get constrained, even though there are a very lot many strategies that people might be taking. In the end, it boils down to very similar ones. Essentially, you have people playing polarized versus linear. So a lot of spots I took yesterday were pretty linear, and for example, I don't know if this table was being railed by as many players. We flopped the model nuts yesterday, and I got max value, but I played it pretty poorly because I ran a sim for it, and it should have been just check calling, check calling, check calling, and a more of a range would have 3-bet me. This is a call. At deeper stacks, we can definitely mix this. So this was basically exactly the spot, but it was a 6 max tournament. So this is somewhat of a mix. This hand does get raised. Yeah, about pot. Did I make it? Was pot? Yeah. This combo for sure. Because it's just a pretty gosh darn bad combo. We're not gonna barrel because a lot of what we check raise there doesn't just start continue pumping money. So yesterday I chose like basically open-ended straight flush draw. The mortal nuts are basically the straight flush, and I think with the suits that we have here, we're gonna attempt to v-bet this part with the king coming in. Like some of our check raising, some of our combos filled up. Now he will probably call with a jack. He might call with tens, but like if we don't bet there, we basically are gone. And like I'm gonna mark that hand to make sure that I didn't make a mistake, but I was just comparing it with the 100 big blind in the same scenario. I kind of like went, check raise, bet after, like I overbet after getting the mortal nuts on the turn, and the river brought in the fourth diamond, and basically I get paid there by such a shallow range of combos that basically I like will undercut myself if I played at that stack depth to that sort of polarized, in that sort of polarized manner. But that was in the other tournament that was going on. Here we've hit a pair. We don't need to continue barreling. I would definitely continue if I had not, and I think we're gonna check call here. Do we have a value bet? Again, these are hands just like not that important, but I'd like to check. One of the reasons for the Sorry, I'll just bring it. I'll bring it back. I'll bring it in here. Whoa. Okay, one of the reasons we check raise. I'm gonna pause this and do we fold here? Yeah. Oh, sorry. So this is the mix, but I think it's fine to just flat here. So one of the reasons why this is definitely a check raise is because the suits, like, we could play this polarized if we had like 2 diamonds. 1 diamond would still be the same, I think. It would still be essentially somewhat maybe, I don't know. So we make it yeah, we make it pot, and he calls, and the 3 is just shut down for us. It's a shutdown card basically. And because a lot of our bluffs when we check raise, like your win rate will probably be negative check raising with nothing on from the big blind, basically with the air. But say like we do have a draw, but like gutty, you know, and the suits don't really help us. So like they could like basically corrupt some of our outs as well. So anyways, it goes check check, and the king comes in. Now there are combos that came in that of straights. I don't think once he calls a check raise, like he can't have ace king. He can have jack king, and we're screwed. He can also have a lot of suited cards. He can have 9x, ace 9, you know, so any suited ace, and the problem is that like queen 10 came in, right? And it's thin because that's the only thing that came in. But everything else kind of sort of bricked, and we don't block anything, and everything bricked except for like 1 combo, and we don't have any showdown. So that logically means we should be betting here. Now if this was a 4, I would definitely just check. If this was a 3, I'd definitely check. If this was a jack, I'd check. If this was a 9, I'd check. If this was an ace, I'd check back. Like I'd check, I wouldn't lead here. But this card with no showdown, nothing really coming in, that he wouldn't have barreled on the turn. So he would have barreled all his straight draws, sorry. He would have double barreled a jack, I think, if not a 9. Yeah, and 9 he probably checks on the turn, you know, once we raise and he calls. So I think he had 9x here, probably. Yeah, offsuit combos we don't need to defend. And if you look at it, like sometimes it just goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. So I entered late. There are points in this chip graph that I have like 10. There's points where I have 5 big blinds and stuff like that. So it ain't no thing. We just continue playing. That's basically the name of the game. That's what I did yesterday to answer a lot of questions. So maybe yesterday that 8-7 bluff gets caught. I know there's a couple of times that I didn't size up a bluff correctly. So yeah, sure, all of that is part of the game. But I mean, we could bust 13th here too. Who knows? But I mean, this is like very surface level. What I'm saying, with Nico. I know you like surface level, but nobody called you here. But essentially, hey mate, Nicky boy. Even when I talk about like constraint strategies, when I talk about come here, also when I talk about you know why we chose that line, and I marked that hand. I'm not 100% sure about it, but what I'm sure about is a lot of like pre-flop ranges, pre-flop like how to mix and balance combos, like value combos with bluff combos. Like literally used to be a weakness of mine. uh, not small blind, big blind in early position like I was talking about yesterday, but counting combos in a hand, like trying to figure out like how many flush combos can this guy have. Okay, if how many can he have with card removal and like stuff like that. How many sets can this guy have with 1-3 already there? It's three combos of a set of threes, uh, with one card missing. It used to take me like, okay, this suit with this suit, this suit with this suit, and now it's kind of pretty easy. But that's just practice, and then there's it's kind of like just basic level math. Like poker has combos, it does not have this would be slightly wide, but yeah, queen 10 I'd open. Poker has combinations, right? It doesn't have permutations, so that makes our life a lot easier. Queen 3, 3 queen, 3 of hearts, queen of diamonds is the same as queen of diamonds, 3 of hearts. So like the way the hand was dealt, like that would be the permutation. The combination is the card, the two cards that were dealt. The permutation would be in which order each of them were dealt to me. So that's not there. So combo counting is easy, but then you need to understand strategy and understand how we do things with essentially think we can just jam here. Essentially how we do things with with range, like how to play with range, like how to recognize when your hand, like aces doesn't mean anything in the air, like it's the board that matters. You say you have this, last thing I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna shut down the video for now. Say you have ace deuce 4 suited, and it's a pretty low down the order hand. Say you have even deuce 4 offsuit and you get the chance to defend your big blind, and suddenly the flop is ace 3-5. What's the better hand to have at that point? Is it ace king or is it deuce 4? Is it aces? Is it deuce 4? So say the deuce 4 was flush, and you flopped an open-ended straight draw with not an open-ended straight flush draw, but just a flush draw as well, versus aces. And then 4 aces, for example, like a card game that's in your range and stuff like that, so suddenly now deuce 4 is your best friend, right? And you forget about like all the like linear value hands. So in the same way, you have to do the opposite. You have to forget about all the aces, kings, and like big monsters when the board doesn't agree with what you're holding, which is basically what respecting the deck means, which is basically what constraining your strategy to the deck means. Essentially just making sure that you're not overvaluing hands that are just the deck didn't cooperate with you and you said fuck it. That's not right. But again, still it's pretty shallow in the way I'm describing it. It requires a lot more studying. Anyways, maybe I'll make a part 2. We'll see.